Queensland's Macleay Island is tiny, only 6.5 kilometres from end to end, with a population of just a few thousand residents. And one of them is a killer. This most intriguing of mysteries began with the bashing murder of grandmother Liselotte Watson back in 2012. Many residents thought the police had solved the mystery when they sent junk delivery driver Steven Fennell to jail for the crime. But he was recently acquitted after 7 years prison and is back living on the island. So if he didn't do it, who did? Matt Doran investigates.
Excuse me. Okay, baby.
Steven Fennell is happy to be home, back with his wife Helen. Back on Queensland's Macleay Island.
I had a dream and I saw Steven packing up his boxes in the prison cell. I knew he'd be coming home soon. I told Steven he didn't believe me, but I knew. Does it feel good?
This does. It feels good. I haven't been, I haven't had bare feet.
And it's warm.
He's just spent more than 6 years in jail for murder, for a crime he says he didn't commit. His conviction sensationally quashed by the High Court just 2 months ago.
Can you describe the moment for me when a prison official walks up to you and says you ought to be freed?
The door opened and a couple of prison officers came in and said, "Pack your stuff, you're out of here." I just thought I was having the piss taken out of me.
They call it the Jewel of Moreton Bay. It's just a short ferry ride from Brisbane. But somewhere on this tiny island, a killer roams free.
She knew what was happening to her. She fought for her life.
Tonight, we investigate one of Australia's most baffling murders and reveal long-buried secrets.
He tied my legs up and my arms behind my back. Got some sort of material and shoved it in my mouth.
When she told you that there were bite marks on her buttocks, did she explain to you just how they came to be there?
That was part of her punishment.
Macleay Island. It's not quite a tropical paradise, more mangroves and mud flats than white sand beaches. But for the 3,500 people who call this place home, it is a kind of paradise, an escape from the outside world. Or at least it was, until one day, 7 years ago, when the murder of an 85-year-old grandmother changed everything.
Officers found the well-known local woman dead in her bedroom on Tuesday afternoon.
It was the island's first murder in living memory.
Things like this don't happen here and we just can't understand it.
The victim, much-loved retired nurse, Liselotte Watson.
Where to begin with Grandma? Beautiful, warm, independent. She just didn't take anybody's crap.
And the man accused of her murder, the island's popular junk mail delivery man, Steven Fennell.
Did you enter Mrs. Watson's home and bludgeon her to death with a hammer?
I never would hurt Mrs. Watson.
You did not kill her?
I did not kill her.
Tonight, did police frame an innocent man for murder?
They missed suspects who fled the island, parolees that left the island the moment the police had arrived.
Now free, he's pursuing his case with Queensland's Crime and Misconduct Commission, claiming police let the real killer escape.
I found Mrs. Watson with the police on the Tuesday afternoon. I was interviewed by police on the Wednesday and I was arrested by police on the Friday. No other suspects considered.
It was Steven Fennell who, 7 years ago, called police to say he hadn't been able to contact his friend, Mrs. Watson, and led police to the house where she lived alone. And it was Steven Fennell who was with them when they found her bloodied, battered body.
I can't imagine what it was like entering the home with police and making that discovery.
It was hard. I mean, Mrs. Watson's my friend, and there she's laying on the ground. Initially, I thought that she'd fallen out of bed. So I reached down and she was cold and clearly dead.
Well, this is Grandma's room. Grandma was found in here on the floor, next to the bed, with her head up by the bedside table.
Emma Watson now lives in her grandmother's house with her partner, Jessie Coker.
I've seen what it was like.
Yeah.
Big
Before
blood
it was all
stain
cleaned
on
up.
the carpet, the blood splatter on the wall, on her bedside table. One thing that sort of sticks in your mind is just seeing how much blood splatter there was from her being hit.
It was a baffling crime. Mrs. Watson was known to keep large amounts of money hidden inside the house. But despite its first appearance as a burglary gone wrong, cash had been left untouched in a drawer.
It would have been the most careful robbery in history, I guess.
Where nothing was taken.
Where nothing was taken.
Police were convinced it was a premeditated attack by someone Mrs. Watson knew. And although there was no DNA or other forensic evidence linking him to the crime, they quickly focused on one suspect, Steven Fennell.
To murder a woman of that age and that vulnerability in that way with a hammer would take a particular propensity for violence.
Again, you've made an assumption that the intention was for murder. You've not considered at all any alternate hypothesis. Someone's going to rob Mrs. Watson, disturbed her, grabbed something, bludgeoned Mrs. Watson, and then left.
Well, no matter which way you look at it, striking an old woman with a hammer
is terrible.
is
I'm not
horrific.
making any defence for anybody that's done that. But I think there's an assumption by everybody that somebody's gone there deliberately to kill, and the evidence doesn't lead that way.
Steven Fennell was a familiar sight around the island, doing his rounds delivering junk mail. And in the year or so before her death, he'd struck up a close relationship with the elderly Mrs. Watson.
So you would stop in and have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee?
Often. I'm on a postie bike most of the time, travelling around the island, so I could free up half an hour to sit and have a chat with Mrs. Watson. Often she was just, you know, lonely as you are.
Fennell's wife, Helen, says Mrs. Watson was very fond of her husband.
She was our friend. She was particularly fond of Steven. The first time I met her, she asked me when I was going to divorce Steven so she could marry him. And I said, no, he's my second husband and he's my keeper. I'm keeping this one.
By all accounts, the frail grandmother was grateful when Fennell dropped by to help with chores, like grocery shopping and collecting her prescriptions. She even began trusting him with her money.
How did you come to do Mrs. Watson's banking for her?
I just felt it was the right thing to do. Simply helping out an elderly lady that couldn't get to the bank.
But as investigators searched for a motive for the killing, they discovered unusually large withdrawals from Mrs. Watson's bank account and withdrawal slips that had been altered in one case changing a $3,000 to become $8,000.
Did you make the 3 and 8?
I can't say.
Well,
I can't say because I've already given evidence at the Crime Misconduct Commission.
The prosecution alleges that the motive for this murder was that money had been stolen from Mrs. Watson and that she had found out.
Yes.
For the elimination of any doubt, did you ever steal $1 from Mrs. Watson?
Not a penny.
But for the police investigating Mrs. Watson's murder, that was hard to believe. Because Steven Fennell is a self-confessed con man with convictions for fraud in 4 states, dating back nearly 4 decades.
How many convictions?
I didn't count, but the media says 41.
41. The bulk of them fraud?
Majority, yes.
After one conviction in Tasmania, the then 27-year-old bragged to a newspaper about his skill at deception.
One of the allegations in this story is that you'd ripped off people to the tune of $250,000.
Sure.
Is it true?
No.
Is it true?
No.
You sure?
I'm positive.
A quote here, "I'm not a saint. I am a con man. I am into fraud. I've done a lot of unscrupulous things."
Sure. I've said that.
What's the figure if it's not $250,000?
It'd be a lot less.
You wouldn't tell me anyway, would you?
Probably not.
And this, I recognise this is in your past. This does not in any way make you a killer.
Well,
what this does do is paint a history or an appetite for fraud, and I'm asking you whether you have truly abandoned that appetite.
I think that, as I said, there comes a point when you realise, I'm not that dumb. I can make money legitimately.
Well, your resume is extraordinary. You're highly educated. You're a very smart man.
No, none of that's true.
Well, you made up the resume?
Yes.
You
I
invented
had a
it?
Year 9 education.
You're kidding?
No.
What, so this is bogus too?
Yes. Thank you for not checking. Nobody's checked.
You know what it makes you? It makes you a very good liar.
Right. I guess it does.
It makes you an expert liar.
And I guess it does. I'm not necessarily shying away from that.
Is lying a good skill if you're facing a murder conviction?
Well, apparently not, given that I was convicted.
4 months after he was first arrested, Steven Fennell was charged with Mrs. Watson's murder.
There was simply a formula that police had used, and that was that I knew Mrs. Watson, I gambled, and I had a criminal record. I must be good for it.
Macleay Island in Queensland's Moreton Bay. 7 years ago, this was the scene of a horrifying murder. 85-year-old grandmother, Liselotte Watson, bludgeoned to death with a hammer.
Oh, there's another house going up there. Oh, look at old Terry's place.
Today, Steven Fennell, the man who was charged with the crime, is home, his conviction quashed, trying to pick up the pieces after 6.5 years in jail.
Yes, I wonder whether or not I should put a bulldozer through the lot of it, start again.
Steven, clear it up for Australia now, anyone who might be still thinking, still in two minds about what happened. On Monday, the 12th of November 2012, there are several hours by your own admission where your movements are unaccounted for. There are several witnesses who place you at her home. Did you enter Mrs. Watson's home and bludgeon her to death with a hammer?
I never would hurt Mrs. Watson. I never went to her house with any intent to, not by accident, not by intent. I'd never hurt Mrs. Watson.
You did not kill her?
I did not kill her. I sit here grinning because I'm aware of information that the police hold, people that have perjured themselves and people that have made statements that won't stand up to the facts.
Of all the incredibly strange twists and turns in this case, surely the most odd is a clue that washed up here in this isolated area of the island 2 days before Mrs. Watson was murdered. A woman walking her dog stumbles across a toiletries bag, and in it she finds Mrs. Watson's pension card and also banking documents, including receipts for the last few months' worth of withdrawals. Now, this was a bag that was never meant to be found. It had been weighed down with a rock and flung out into sea, but because this is a tidal area, it washed back up here into the mangroves.
Contained within that bag was a white Westpac folder?
Sure.
That you had had in your possession 10 days before the killing?
Sure.
So how, if you would allow me to ask, how does a folder that you had in your possession end up in a toiletry bag with a rock in it dumped in the mangroves?
Well, you're asking me to speculate.
Well, no, you've had 6.5 years to speculate. I'm sure you've got a theory.
I've got a number of theories.
What is it?
Well, because of the legal action and because of what may be coming, I can't preempt, pre-warn.
But you acknowledge that you had the folder that was dumped in the mangroves 10 days before the killing?
I've never denied having the folder.
So, but what happened in those intervening 10 days? Did you give it back to Mrs. Watson?
Sure, I gave it back to her. She got her folder back.
You must believe you're the unluckiest bloke on the planet that banking documents linked to you are ditched in the mangroves just before her murder.
That's not the most difficult thing in this case.
But that's one of them. You must have thought, how on earth?
That's not the most difficult thing in this case. It will come out in further evidence. Information about my home, my trailer, the alleged hammer from Mr. Matheson.
Can we talk about that hammer? My goodness.
And here's where the case gets even more baffling. When police searched the mangroves where the toiletries bag was found, they also discovered Mrs. Watson's wallet and a purse. And not far away, a hammer.
Investigators believe this is the murder weapon, a hammer found dumped with some of Mrs. Watson's belongings.
Where were you when you first heard about the hammer?
I was sitting on the side of our bed. We had a TV up here, and they said police are looking for information about this hammer.
Susan Matheson and her husband Bob were friends of the Fennells. Bob, who has since passed away, was a handyman.
Mr. Fennell says police have seized hammers from his home.
We looked up, I looked at him and he looked at me and I said, that's mine. He said, that's yours at exactly the same time. And that's when we rang 131 444 to report that we knew who the hammer belonged to.
Neither had any doubt this was the hammer Bob left with Steven Fennell a year before Mrs. Watson was killed.
Hammers can look alike. How are you so certain that this was yours?
Because there was a paint mark and a couple of other things on it that he got from working on a farm in South Australia, and it put a chip into the side of the teeth of the hammer.
Susan and Bob would later give contradictory evidence about the origins of the marks they identified. But Susan remains adamant.
Is there any morsel of doubt in your mind that that was Bob's hammer?
No, not a doubt in my mind.
The hammer that allegedly belonged to Bob Matheson, did he ever give you a hammer?
No.
He never gave you a hammer?
Never gave me a hammer.
But essentially, both Susan and Robert,
yes,
they said that they had an aha moment when they're watching the news and said, my goodness, that is the very hammer I gave to Steven.
Sure.
So they are just making it up, or they're wrong?
I can't talk to you about that.
Well, you must have a theory. Like either they are right or they are wrong, and if they are wrong, they have helped send you to jail for 6.5 years. So which is it?
I'm saying to you it's the latter, and I'm saying to you that there is further action to be taken on this.
But it wasn't just the hammer that put the police spotlight on Steven Fennell. The junk mail delivery driver didn't have an alibi for several hours on the day police believe Mrs. Watson was killed, and a search of his computer raised more suspicion.
Can you describe for me your movements on that Monday?
I think it's very, as I've outlined, but what specifically timetable are we looking at? You see, you want me to indulge in something.
Well,
like
no,
that,
I'll give you a start point. In the morning, there is a record of you being logged in on your computer, and
Sure.
at some stage approaching 8 a.m, you access a website which says weird places people hide money in their homes.
No.
A pop-up materialised and you accessed it.
No, I was on the Yahoo homepage.
Right.
And they call it bait advertising. Do you want a cheaper home loan?
That one sounds like bait advertising. I've been on planet Earth for 36 years and I have never had weird places people hide money around the house
That
pop up.
that didn't pop up. I pressed the button and was redirected to weird places people hide their money. How long was I on the website for? If you've read the trial and if you've read the expert's opinion, less than 1 second.
I saw
on
1
and
second.
off.
Then what happened?
If it had taken me to porn, you'd be sitting there asking me why was I looking at titty girls.
But I'm not asking about porn, Stephen. What I'm asking about now is, are you saying that it was a faulty link?
No,
and you somehow
I'm saying
ended up
that's
on that
where
page?
it linked to.
Right.
Thank you. And it's the evidence that was presented by the police expert. And again, a waste of the jury's time and misrepresented as you've done here, which is starting to piss me off.
Fennell says he came to Mrs. Watson's house on the Monday morning to return a biscuit tin, but he doesn't remember exactly when or even if he went back later that day.
You've read the trial transcripts and you must be aware,
I am.
when you asked me about my medical conditions, that I have a diagnosed brain injury.
Short-term memory.
Which affects my short-term memory. But you'll have to ask my wife on how many occasions I've gotten up out of my chair to do something.
How about like this morning when you couldn't find your wallet?
But if Steven Fennell doesn't remember his visits to Mrs. Watson's house on the day police believe she was killed, her neighbours say they do.
Loretta, it was a long time ago, I understand. Can you remember what happened on the Monday, the 12th of November, 2012?
Yes, it has been a long time, but it's something that sticks in your mind.
Loretta Macleay lives just 2 doors down from Mrs. Watson's house. She says she saw Steven Fennell arrive at 2 o'clock that afternoon.
I heard a bike come up the road. I thought it was my postman, so I got up. I came in here into my bathroom, looked out the front window here, and I had a direct line over to Mrs. Watson's front gate. And none of those trees were there growing at the time, and I had a good view.
So it's been 6.5 years. They've grown up.
Yes.
But back then, you had a clear line of sight to Mrs. Watson's house.
Yes, I did, to the front gate. And I saw Mr. Fennell going in, and about 20 minutes later, I heard him start the bike up and go again.
And you're sure he was there for about 20 minutes or so?
Yes, about 20 minutes.
The first witness statement, which places you there at 2 p.m. for a period of 20 minutes, do you know what you were doing?
Probably looking for Mrs. Watson, I would think. I don't recall. At what time? 2 p.m. on the...
2 p.m. on the Monday, the day of the murder.
I would have been looking for Mrs. Watson because I wouldn't have been able to race her. By that time, I've already taken the biscuit tin back early in the morning.
So you'd been there in the morning and then you'd come back.
Taken the biscuit tin back. The biscuit tin's still there. And I've not been able to raise Mrs. Watson.
Do you think that witness is potentially mistaken about how long you spent there? Because 20 minutes seems to be a long time to spend at the home.
I'm not arguing that I was never there. I'm not debating I was never there.
I understand.
I absolutely believe I was there. But for that period of time, no.
But Loretta wasn't the only neighbour who claimed to have seen Fennell that day. Mrs. Watson's house is in a quiet cul-de-sac where everyone knows everyone else's business.
Our neighbour down the road, she gave evidence in court. She, about 6 o'clock on the Monday night, had seen Steven. She identified him, saw him, it was definitely him in his ute, come up the street about 6 o'clock and park out the front of Mrs. Watson's house here.
Could he have just been coming to check in? How long did she say he stayed?
She said she saw a ute leaving here at 7:30, so She was suggesting that he was possibly here for up to an hour and a half.
Do you disagree with the witness statement that places you there from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., which is an hour and a half right in the middle of the window when it is believed Mrs. Watson was murdered? The inference for anyone looking at that could be that you cleaned up the crime scene.
If I could correct you, the inference made by the prosecution is that she was killed in the afternoon and that a clean-up was made.
That you went back for that hour and a half to clean up the scene?
That was the argument. However, I hadn't left home. I hadn't been there. But I had been there on the Sunday the day before. So what I'm saying to you is that the person that said they was there Monday has gotten all of the facts absolutely correct, except for the wrong day.
The High Court ruled that no reasonable jury could have accepted the neighbours' evidence, as there was other evidence that Steven Fennell was at home on the Monday evening using his computer.
Stop stressing.
It's been a strange few weeks for Steven Fennell, adjusting to his newfound freedom.
Baz? Hey, Baz, we're not psycho.
Well, not today.
Fennell has been in jail for nearly 7 years, convicted of a murder he always said he didn't commit.
No, going straight, Alan. Alan.
That conviction was quashed 2 months ago by the High Court, which found that the prosecution case on Fennell's motive was extremely weak, that the Mathesons' identification of the hammer was glaringly improbable, and that Fennell's window of opportunity to have committed the murder was very small at best.
And do you want compensation for these 6.5 years?
Steven Fennell now plans to sue the state of Queensland $1 million for each of the years he lost in prison.
Something around $7 million.
I think that would be fair.
But not everyone believes Steven Fennell is entitled to compensation or even to be walking free.
He's a monster.
You really believe that he's a monster?
Yeah. Well, he is to me.
2 decades before the murder of Mrs. Watson, Steven Fennell was at the centre of a brutal attack on this woman, Bernadette Woodward. Then, a naive 21-year-old, Bernadette met and fell in love with the 35-year-old self-confessed conman. But one night, everything changed.
It started, I come home from work, and he gave me a Scotch and Coke. And then he wanted to have sex, but he wanted to tie me up.
What did you say?
I agreed.
What made you do it then? Did you feel in any way compelled?
Yeah, because he could be very forceful man. Very demanding. He tied my legs up and my arms behind my back, so I could not move.
You were completely immobile?
Completely. And then all of a sudden he got some sort of material and shoved it in my mouth, put a pillow over my head and then started beating into me.
And you were screaming?
At the start I was, but then the beats just kept happening.
When you say he was beating you, what exactly was he doing?
Pounding in the face and in the chest.
How long did this go on?
This went on for about 10 minutes. And then he was trying to suffocate me with the pillow over my face. So I decided to stop screaming, keep quiet, and just concentrate on breathing. It felt like I was going to die.
Did you believe you were close to suffocating?
I believed I was dead. There was blood on the pillows. There was blood on the wall, on the sheets.
A friend rushed Bernadette to hospital.
What were your injuries?
I had 2 hemorrhaged eyes. My chest was bruised. Could hardly move my arms. I was coughing up blood.
What happened to Steven after the attack?
He vanished.
Would you like to talk about what happened in 1995?
Well, you'd have to refresh my memory in 1995.
A woman by the name of Bernadette?
No, I don't wish to speak about that at all. I don't wish to.
You're asking me about. No, Steven, I respect.
Not one question.
Well, I respect that. You don't need to walk off, sir. I respect it.
You didn't tell me we're going down this road.
We're not going, Steven. You were asking me.
If you find the interview so boring, you've got to bring up something from that.
I would like to very calmly just continue talking about the facts of the case.
No, not a mention.
Not
a word.
Not a mention of what, sir?
Not a mention of anything about that particular case. Nothing. It has no relevance to anything. It's a grubby piece of media. I won't participate in it.
In 1995, Steven Fennell was sentenced to 1 year and 4 months in prison for his attack on Bernadette. It's a long time ago, but not for his victim.
25 years on, are you still afraid of Steven?
Yes, I'm afraid of him.
Why?
Because he's crazy. He's a very manipulative, charming man that can talk his way out of a wet paper bag.
Sitting here and sharing this story as you have takes a lot of courage. Why are you speaking to me today?
So he doesn't hurt anybody else. I don't want anyone else to be hurt. So people are aware what sort of con man he really is. And he is dangerous.
Sir, I can't talk to you about this particular case and this particular woman if you're not going to allow me to delve into it.
Steven Fennell may not want to talk about his past, but it's about to catch up with him again. Steven Fennell is trying to return to an ordinary life. He's just spent 6.5 years in jail for a murder he has always said he didn't commit.
Look adoringly at your loving husband.
Ready?
I said adoringly, not like some sort of social retard.
But Steven Fennell's past is catching up with him. A long criminal history and allegations of violence against women.
Are you a violent man?
I don't believe so. You can make anything.
I don't believe so, or I am not.
Well, okay.
That is a very basic
let me see.
question.
If you were at school and during your school years had assaulted 30 or 40 people during your school years and haven't since assaulted anybody, does that make you a violent person? Are we going to count this by the number or the severity or whatever?
Did you assault 30 people at school?
No. I was giving a hypothetical and trying to draw out from you the fact that you can make something of anything. If you touch somebody in this day and age, it's called assault.
I believe it's much simpler than that, Steven. Are you a violent man or not?
Well, I don't think I've demonstrated any violence on the island. I don't think I've shown a propensity to violence, if that's where you're leading.
I'm not leading anywhere, sir. I'm asking you whether you're a violent man, and you're offering qualifications like on the island.
Well,
have you been violent elsewhere?
No, but, well, you see, now, this is where this has led all around. You want to come back via the back door and ask me what occurred in 1995, which is backdooring.
Have you ever assaulted women in the past?
There's no way I can answer this, is there? I refuse to talk to you about 1995. I cannot say to you no, it's a lie. If I say to you no, I've never assaulted a woman, it's a lie.
Where I'm coming to, Stephen, is this. Put 1995 to the side. I want to ask you about June 7, 2008.
That's a matter for a further court case, and again, something I won't be speaking to you about.
Helen, was Stephen violent towards you in 2008?
I really decline to answer.
Well, that's his record because he used to get violent with his wife. I saw results of that violence. I saw how scared she was at times.
His current wife, Helen?
Yes, Helen.
Susan Matheson was once a close friend of Helen Fennell. It was Susan and her husband who identified a hammer, the alleged murder weapon, as one they lent to Steven Fennell. But a few years before, Helen reached out to Susan for help.
She came to my house one day and she said, oh, look, I need you to take some photos. And there were bite marks on her bottom. There were about 3 or 4 of them. And I started to cry. She said, look, don't cry, because I'll cry and then I'll be in trouble. And she gave us a list about what Steven has said she has to do. And he could command her to do anything that he wanted her to do at any time, night or day.
We've obtained a copy of Steven Fennell's list of commandments.
Below are my reasons for discipline and your instructions on the correct procedure for receiving discipline. Read it, learn it, obey it.
When she told you that there were bite marks on her buttocks, did she explain to you just how they came to be there?
Yeah, she said Steven had put them there. That was part of her punishment. But she could never say no to him. She always had to say yes, but she had to say yes, Steven.
I will inform you that you are to be disciplined. The only reply is yes, Steven.
We've elected not to reveal the most graphic demands.
You will present the belt and spoon and say, I am ready for discipline, Steven.
But it's clear that if Helen refuses to obey, one of her few available choices is to leave the island without her son.
Pack your bags and just off, but Adam stays with me.
She said, just give me 2 or 3 days and I'll try and work out how to get to your place so we can get to the mainland, so we can get some help.
But you both agreed that the best course of action was to lodge a police complaint?
Yes, because she went to the police station and lodged a complaint.
Steven Fennell has been acquitted of murder and freed by the High Court. But now his character is under fire, accused of acts of violence against the woman sitting beside him, his own wife, Helen.
Why did you leave the island on a police barge?
I chose to go away for a break for a weekend, on weekend.
May I ask you why?
Because I wanted a break from Steven.
Was there an incident that triggered that?
Yes.
Let me answer this.
Well, I would love to answer. I would love to let Helen answer it if you would allow me.
Helen's not going to answer it.
She is a grown woman capable of speaking for herself.
She's not going to answer it.
Helen, would you like to answer it?
No, thank you.
We had an argument, and it's as simple as that. It went no further. There was no physical assault.
Did the argument end with bite marks?
As a matter of record, it did. But it has nothing to do with where you're going and what you're inferring.
Steven, there seems to be, when I'm talking to you, just below the surface, an undercurrent of rage.
No, you're wrong. There's an overcurrent. There's absolute rage. I got sent to jail for 6.5 years on perjured testimony. Police were aware of what was going on and did nothing. I'm leaving it at that because that's the only place that we're not going any further with this because this is yet to come out. Whether you edit with this or not, I don't give a rat's ass.
Is there an agreement in your relationship that Helen should refer to you as yes, master, or yes, Stephen?
We're not answering any of that. What we do in our bedroom is our business. You know, is this the kind of journalism you want to stoop to? This isn't investigative journalism. This is just shit.
Can I tell you what's not shit? And that is the testimony of Bernadette. He got some sort of material, shoved it in my mouth, put a pillow over my head and then started beating me. I felt like I was going to die. I couldn't breathe. I was coughing up blood. I had 2 hemorrhaged eyes. My chest was bruised. There was blood on the pillows, blood on the walls, blood on the sheets.
Now, you just ruined this for yourself. You really have. We're out of here.
Where are you going, sir? If you want to talk about journalism, let's have a discussion about it. Where are you going, Stephen?
You have to take your microphone off.
I want to talk to you, sir, about this.
You want to talk to me about an incident in 1995?
What happened?
Why don't you talk to me about what occurred in 1964?
Do you regret the incident? Is what I'm asking you, sir.
I've not been at all surprised at where we went. I said to my wife,
Did you beat her to the point where she had 2 hemorrhaged eyes?
No.
At the end of all this, it's important to remember that Steven Fennell was acquitted of Mrs. Watson's murder. A criminal history does not make someone a killer. But 7 years on, Macleay Island is still haunted by the murder.
How much do you miss Grandma, Emma?
It's hard, because she wasn't ready to leave yet. She didn't just die an old woman. She was stolen from us. And it's not fair.
For now, at least, Mrs. Watson's killer remains at large. And unless one day another piece of evidence washes up in the mangroves, it may have to stay that way forever. The darkest secret of Macleay Island.
An extraordinary story and a real team effort from our producers Stephen Rice, Margaret Parker and Daniel Clark.